Hi, this is Jennie Walker, and welcome to Closet Conversations. Today, I wanted to follow up to a previous podcast where I talked about why I was so excited TheRealReal was going public with their IPO. And now I want to follow that up with another podcast on the company, but this time talk about the challenges and opportunities they face. Now, nothing is always going to be perfect with a company. There's always going to be things behind the scenes that every company struggles with or is challenged by to keep their business growing and vibrant. And in the case of TheRealReal, all you have to do is go online and search customer reviews, whether it's the Better Business Bureau, well, I think like 169 documented complaints, or it's the local Yelp page, you're going to see the same situations come up over and over again, none of which can't be overcome. That's why I remain excited about them, even though I'm about to go into this other stuff. But the reality is, the consignment has two sides to it. You have to constantly feed both sides of this thing. One is to get the consignment items from the customers. So you always have to be finding new and more wonderful items to sell. And then you need the customer to sell those items too. So both hands work together in this, and they are equally important. But if I had to pick one, if I had to say to myself, what is the most important part of this puzzle? I would have to say gaining the consignor and gaining those products to sell. Because the minute you push them online or put them in a store, particularly online, you have the whole world waiting there for you to buy it. So acquiring that customer isn't something you have to go out and get, right? You have to acquire the products that are for sale. You have to process those items and put them up online so that they can be reached by the vast amount of people that are out there looking for products to buy. And the reason this is so important is because one of the many, many complaints that the company gets is pricing. And I got to tell you, these are some of the lowest prices I've ever seen for stuff in my life. So, as a shopper, it's wonderful. I mean, just today, I get up every day I set my alarm at 6:57, which gives me 3 minutes to find my glasses, find my phone, and go onto the website for the 7 a.m. push for that Pacific time. Obviously, it's going to be 10 a.m. on the East Coast, but so I'm there and I'm looking for things every morning to buy. And this morning I was online and I was looking, and right now I'm actually looking for something for myself to wear, and I normally don't ever buy anything for myself that's clothes on that site, but occasionally I do. So today I found a Vivienne Westwood Anglomania new with tags, long line vest with a belt, and they were asking $75 new with tags. And you got to ask yourself, what? And then, of course, it had the 20% coupon, and they do incentivize all these, not all the sales, but many of the sales with this 20% off coupon if you know about it and use it. So that brought it down to $60. Now, if I'm the consignor and I'm getting 55% of $60 for a new tag Vivienne Westwood long belted vest, that's not a lot of money. And, but as a shopper, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. Why would I want to pay $60 plus tax and shipping? That is, this is the whole thing. This is the whole thing about TheRealReal. And this is just a perfect example. So I have bought it spontaneously. I looked at the measurements because I know what my size is. So I'm thinking it's going to fit. It's worth $11.99 for this in shipping just to try it out. If it doesn't work, I got to ship it back, pay for that shipping, which is, no bueno, but I'm going to do it anyway if it doesn't work. I think it will. But I might just, if it doesn't fit, just sell it, because I can guarantee you I would never price a Vivienne Westwood anything for $75, much less a piece that is new with tags. And this is the whole thing, is that these items are underpriced. They just are. And it feeds your most base instincts to buy something just simply because it's so underpriced. It's all impulse. And what I realized in my own store, I co-own Viden Luxury Consignment in Pasadena, California. And pricing is one of the most fascinating things when it comes to pre-owned luxury. And we have this clearance rack, and it's where we put this stuff that we haven't been able to move, or it has a problem, like I found a flaw in it. And sometimes I'll just stick it out in the clearance rack, and somebody will buy that thing. And I'm always fascinated because I don't want to buy the thing with a hole in it or a snag, but I'll stick it out there just for fun, and people don't seem to have a problem with it. But anyway, pricing is so interesting because every single thing in my store and every single thing on The Real Real is pure impulse. Nobody needs any of it. And kind of the whole concept behind luxury is it is sort of an extra added value thing that you're acquiring. And I love luxury, and I love high quality, and there's it's palpable, the difference between things that are well made and aren't. And I think it's a wonderful thing that we have companies out there that do take the time to create luxury goods, many of which have to be handmade or partially handmade or hand sewn or hand beaded. And it's a lost art, and it's to be appreciated and respected. But pricing is a way to respect quality, and it is a way to respect luxury. And so you're always got this fine line between how do I move it and get it out of my store and into someone's hands, but not underprice it, still make the consignor happy, and still make money for the store. And, the thing about consignment split, I mean, we recently changed our consignment split. We're basically 50-50 if it's under $2,500. But out of our part, I mean, there's so much that has to come out of that you're not really making half anything by the time you calculate all your expenses. And so you have to keep that in mind when you do the pricing. And so our model in our consignment shop is, how do I get as much as possible and still move it? And we've gone round and round, my business partner and I, about pricing all the time. It's too high, it's too low, it's too this, it's too that. But at the end of the day, we've done a really good job, I think, of the consignors getting really good sums of money for their clothes. And the reason is, when I think about pricing and when I think about what something is worth, I'm not thinking just about how quickly can I move it. And that'd be a nice thing just to think about. But then I'd come into all the problems that The Real Real has had, which is they didn't price it high enough. Somebody didn't get enough money. And some of the things that I've realized in dealing with women mostly is that when I have talked to people about their consignment, I get the story. I get the backstory. The woman is just thrilled to tell me all about her item. Because as a woman, I can tell you where I bought it, how much I paid, if it was on sale or not, if the salesperson was any good, where I wore it, was it photographed in it, did I get any compliments? We've attached this history to each piece as a woman that it's more than a piece of clothing. And a lot of times those memories are worth more than $20. And this is the thing that I think you have to understand about women and about clothing and what it means to us. Not all women, of course, but women who are totally into fashion that are just, they consume it, they love it, they enjoy it, they, mark time with it, and they, and because of that, it's that has to be valued. There has to be some sort of financial value put on that, so that when someone is paid for something that they've sold, they can feel good about it. And one of my close friends, from which I bought one of the Moschino pieces that started my most recent obsession and the collection, I now have like over 400 things, was telling me all about this skirt. This beautiful, beautiful long skirt with embroidered suns on it. It says "O Sole Mio" on it, and it has a beautiful Italian ribbon at the waist. It was from the 10-year anniversary event that the brand did to celebrate. And I will never sell this thing. I took one look at it and I thought this should be framed. It should be loaned out for a photo shoot, but no one should let go of this beautiful, beautiful thing. And when she was telling me about the story and what she wore and where she bought it and how there's a matching jacket, but she missed out on it, and where she went to lunch in this with what is now, I guess, it was going to be her future husband. And she went this beautiful, beautiful story, and, got a little choked up actually about it. And you realize that there's all of this stuff tied to clothes. It's our history. It's our youth. It's everything about our lives. And so to respect that memory, to respect the stories that come with the clothes, and there are so many stories because I've been told them, beautiful stories about where somebody wore something. If you come back and you hand them $100, $50, they're going to be like, you know what, my memories are worth more than that. It's not worth it to me to sell something for so low. And quite honestly, the best way to get the most amount of money out of anything is sell yourself, because you don't have to pay a commission to someone. But so many people don't want to do that. They don't know the system or trust the system or don't want to get taken advantage of. And they've heard so many bad stories that they want someone to do it for them that's been through that has a better handle on how to deal with all of that. And you're going to have to pay for that. You're going to have to pay a commission. And so if you're going to give away half of your 50% or more of a commission to someone, then the least they can do is try to get a really good price for it, because half of that's going away for them so they can feel good about it. And all these complaints, if you really get to the bottom line of them for The Real, is that people didn't get enough money for their stuff. Bottom line, they just didn't get enough money. And as someone who has recently sent in a box, and I purposely didn't send in anything to The Real that I was not going to be okay if they only put $50 on it, because that is their lowest price point. $50 is the point at which they start pricing things. And so that is the amount you have to be prepared for your thing to sell at. And so, I was shocked. Some things were a lot higher than I thought they would be, and some things were a lot lower than I thought I would be. I don't even know if any of it are sale, but because of the breadth and scope of that platform, I feel like I have a really good opportunity to move something on with them that I wasn't able to move myself. Everything that I sent them is something I have already tried to sell on my own. And so it'll be interesting to see if they move it. One thing that they underpriced, I'm really, really not happy about, but not so happy I'm going to call them up. I wasn't moved to that level. I'm going to let them know. I'm just like, you know what? I knew when I sent it in it could be $50, and it was, and so I'm just going to roll with it. We're going to see how that goes. But I think that it's important to understand that people are smart. They're savvy. I mean, if you read some of these reviews and they said I could, have a word in pricing and blah, 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 and I only got $500 for my bag and la, la, la. I mean, people, if they have a bag they spent $2,000 for or more, they're not going to be happy with $500 unless it just doesn't matter to them. And I've learned that it absolutely matters to people how much they get. Whether they're going to tell you or not, if they're selling something, they either need or want the money. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually a genius thing to do, is to go through things that you already have and let somebody sell them for you and get the money out of it. But people are smart. People know there are choices. And if they don't have a good experience with one consignment company, they're going to go to somewhere else. And again, pricing is a big issue. And I think that it's something that if I were to encourage The Real to work on, is that they got to work on pricing. As it is now, you really don't have any say in what they price it. And that is one of the things that I think is hard for people to handle, is that you really are, it's out of your hands and you have no control. And if there could be some controls built in, I think that would really work well for the Real, because ThredUp has control. I mean, if you send in to ThredUp Lux, they will give you an upfront buyout amount, which is usually, it's anything from pennies to dollars, right? I'll give you, 50 cents for this thing, or $1.12 up to, I'll give you over $100 for something. So it's a really fascinating site. And what you can do is, once you send it in, you can adjust the prices, and then you have control. And so things that they wanted to give me really tiny amounts for, I'm like, I don't think so, because my experience is, I know that there are people who will pay more than this. And so I'll adjust the price up, and then lo and behold, something will sell for hundreds of dollars and that I'll get hundreds of dollars, because they pay a really high commission at ThredUp for things over a couple $100. I think it's like a 90% commission, something like that. And so that's attractive. It's attractive because I can control it. It's attractive because I have an opportunity to make a lot more money. But it's a different audience. I mean, the ThredUp audience is not the Real audience at all. I mean, they didn't start out with luxury, so it's a very different customer. But I've sent things to ThredUp, and I have taken their payouts, and I have also sold things. I'm getting $69 for a pair of mother jeans that I sent to them, and that's after they've taken their commission. And these were jeans that I couldn't get anyone to buy at any price that I was selling on eBay and on Poshmark. And so, as someone who resells, I mean, it's a really cool thing to experiment with these other platforms, and certainly for things that you have been able to move. But that's a little bit of a digression from the fact that the Real is all about moving luxury, and the prices just aren't luxurious on many of the things. And when you study the platform and you realize what sells and what doesn't, I mean, the good stuff, it's what I call it my own store, the good stuff. I need more of the good stuff that's just amazing, that's special, that's different. That's what moves. And it's going to move whether it's $300 or $500, probably, if it's luxury. And it's going to move whether it's $75 or $175, because it's really good. It was a great style, great condition, interesting piece. And if you look at what didn't sell on the Real, because you can look at the things that are on clearance, and these are the pieces that are what I call throwaway pieces, the basics, the things nobody wants, the things that aren't that special. And if I just need a black skirt, I really don't need to go to the Real to find it. I can go anywhere and get a plain black skirt. But those are the things that seem to be left over. Either they were too high priced to begin with, which is rare for them. But I've seen things I wanted that were $5,000. I'm like, no. It's on sale now for $2,500. That's still a lot, because if it hadn't sold at $2,500 on their site, what does that tell me? So, so there's things that can be too high, and then the things that are super low, like $50 skirts that are now half price or less, 10, 15, $20. I mean, nobody wanted it, and nobody wants it at any price because it's too basic. And so the merchandise mix is a challenge because you can't control it. You can't control it because you don't know what the customer's willing to let go of. You don't know what you're going to get. But when you do get it, it's going to sell so fast that you got to get more. So you're constantly, again, under the pressure to get great stuff to sell over and over and over again. And I think to continue the growth and get to profitability, that they really need to rethink the pricing. Now, I'm not, as a shopper, I'm not saying I want to go pay more for a bunch of stuff. I'm just saying, as a consignor, they've got to find a way to satisfy. And there is a formula that's been used. I mean, there are formulas out there that resale is basically, 75 to 90% of original retail. And I object. I object. I reject that formula, because that means if something's $1,000, I got to price it between $100 and $250. And at that price, it will move, and will move quick. But there's a lot of things because of style or design or other factors that would never be $100. It just, you can't use that formula on everything, because that doesn't take into consideration the uniqueness, how beautiful it is, the specialness, the quality, et cetera, et cetera. And again, as you do this kind of work, those great pieces, when they come in, you're just like, doing the happy dance, because they don't come in every day, at least in my shop. Now, when they do come in, it's like they come in waves. You'll go through this thing where, nothing that comes in is like really, really special. And then out of the blue, somebody will pop in and drop, 3 Chanel handbags and a Louis Vuitton on your desk going, well, I'm cleaning up my closet and I just don't use them. So you never know what you're getting. When you get the good stuff, you've got to appreciate it, price it accordingly. I mean, I saw a John Galliano silk gown, absolutely gorgeous. It was on the RealReal site the other day, and they wanted $300 and something. And I honestly going, I don't even want John Galliano right now, but at $300, some stylist bought that, or some vintage store bought that, and they're going to put $1,300 on it or more and sell it to someone else. And that's the thing, when it's underpriced, whoever's buying it is definitely either repricing it and selling it on their own, if they're a collector or vintage person, or if somebody's just getting a really good deal, and it's such a deal that when it comes time to wear it and then resell it again, perhaps they can get most of their money out of it. If we needed to switch to some other categories of improvement, and we do need to switch because I'm in charge here, so I'm going to switch and talk about condition. I think that condition and accepting something in excellent condition, this is another challenge that the RealReal has. And I know, because in my own store, here's a situation that you run into, and I'm just going to be real honest about this, is that when you have a bunch of clothes that you're trying to get rid of, or handbags, whatever, you don't want to put any more money into it. Meaning, you're not going to want to take all these garments to the dry cleaner and spend all this money cleaning your clothes and then sell it. So you got to hope that when someone brings you something, it's already been freshly dry cleaned, or it's already clean. And I can tell you that is not the case. It's not the case. I'm telling you right now, flat out, you get dirty clothes brought to you many times. Pit stains, underarm deodorant, lady stains, spills, moth holes, snags, you name it, I've seen it on the clothes at this point. And so what happens is that you have to ask yourself what to do about it. Am I going to take the time to dry clean this? And if so, somebody's got to pay for it. And, I'm not going to, because if you dry clean it and it may not come clean, it may not come out. So somebody just spent a bunch of money cleaning something that can't be sold. And so at the RealReal, you'll have things that come in different conditions. Excellent, pristine, they use for things that are new with tags. They'll say excellent, they'll say good or very good or whatever, or moderate. But what I can tell you is that I have a different opinion of what moderately scratched up is than the RealReal does. And we all have different ideas. And I think what's been disappointing for me personally from things that I have bought on there is that they have been more damaged than pictured. They have had stains on it. If they said it has, quote, residue on it, it basically means they didn't take the time to dry clean it. So the question to me becomes is, should they take the time to do that? We're a small store. We're a boutique. We have a great relationship with a local dry cleaner, and we take them a lot of stuff. We get a little discount because we do a decent volume with them. But the question is it worth cleaning? Is it worth trying? And what we do is, for example, we had a Burberry trench coat come in the other day. And the first thing I do on jackets, I look at the collar. I say, okay, let me see if there's any stains in the collar, because that basically tells you everything. So the Burberry coat, navy blue classic trench, had residue in the collar. So I told the owner, I said, look, it has to be cleaned. And I said, if there's one thing that clothes have to be, is they got to be clean. There's a lot of things they can be, but they got to be clean. And so she's like, oh gosh, I didn't know. It's my first time. And so I said, look, we get it clean, we get a decent rate, and we just deduct it out of your account. So in the end, it was $13 to have this coat cleaned, and we've deducted her account, and hopefully the coat will sell. But that $13 is going to come straight out of her account. Because what happens is that when I tell somebody, I'm not going to take it because it needs to be cleaned, you need to clean and bring it back, it just doesn't come back. It's not coming back. So you have to make a decision in that moment if it's worth your effort, meaning my effort at the store, to haul it to the dry cleaners, go through that process, and see if it'll come clean. And oftentimes it is worth it. I mean, if it's a really good piece, if it's like a Mary McFadden dress, or it could be a Chanel jacket, or a Burberry trench coat, And so I make that judgment call when it comes in. I feel like this is something that is not happening at The Real Real. And an example would be I bought a Jean-Paul Gaultier sweater. They said it had pilling on it, and like moderate pilling. And so I got it, and oh man, that thing was bad. I mean, it was really. I think this is the place at which you've got to try to figure out what to do. It's this beautiful sweater, and it's got a bunch of pills on it, and it's highly sought after designer, but it's messed up. So I sent it back. There was no way I was going to keep the sweater, and I certainly wasn't going to try to get the pills off. But I think we're all faced with what to do about it. And I think when it comes to condition, I think that is one place that The Real Real can improve, is to turn away more things that are damaged and turn away more things that are, might have a little problem with it, because I don't think it's enough to talk about it in the description. You've got to show a picture. And that's one of the things that they lack. I mean, on eBay, you can get up to 12 pictures. I mean, they're not putting 12 pictures of anything up on The Real Real. That is one of the places they have cut the corners. You don't ever get to see the brand tag, which I think is a huge mistake, because one peek at that brand tag and that label, I know how old it is. And when you're dealing with vintage, it's one of the most important things is to know, is this, Yves Saint Laurent, or Rive Gauche, or which one is it? And I don't know that from the tag, and they aren't necessarily going to tell me in the listing. So that's, I got something the other day, like I'm on the fence about. I bought from Real Real this beautiful vintage Moschino bag, and they said new with tags, pristine, or something like that. So I got this thing, and it's one of the hard to find ones that's in all the books, and I've been looking for it for a long time. And what was fascinating is it did have tags inside, and it did come with the strap that the bag needed, and it came with its dust bag. But what's fascinating is it had dust in between, like all the handles, and then the whole bottom had a whole yellow stripe, discoloration on it. And I looked up the listing, and they never took the time to photograph the bottom of the bag. And that's one of the things that we always do at our store, is that we always photograph the bottom of the bag, because that's where so much wear is going to be, because people are setting those bags down. And so they didn't even have it on there. Now I could easily send this back and have them take it back even as a handbag, because my experience with The Real Real customer service has been excellent. I have never not had a good experience with them. They have been excellent with me. So I know I could do it, but I'm just sitting here wondering what I should do. And I think it was a failure on their part not to have more pictures. I think, 3, 4, 5 pictures just isn't enough. I mean, you've got to have more images, and it protects all that are involved. And it would have let me know, oh, there's a yellow thing on the bottom. Probably would have bought it anyway, and I'm probably going to keep it. But I'm not going to be disappointed. And so much of customer service and consignment is managing expectations. I do my best in my own store. I fail every now and then. I just don't get it right. And so you just have to make good on it. And I feel like right now, with The Real Real having been public, that they're working very hard to make good on things that they have not gotten just right. And I think that's important. I mean, if you look at the responses on Yelp or the responses on the Better Business Bureau to the complaints, in every case, they have done their best to resolve it. And I think there's so much more at stake now when you're public that I think the best that you can do when something happens, if it wasn't as described, if there was something off, is to absolutely take care of it. That's what we do in our store. And that builds the loyalty, and that builds the confidence in a place that you can trust and go back to. And they don't have trust in a lot of cases, and I don't know if they'll ever get it back for those people. But I can tell you right now, my experience has been with their customer service has been terrific. I'm a little surprised. I mean, I'm surprised all the time with things that I send back, because I'm shaking my head going, I don't know how this passed quality control. Like, I don't know. Y'all were way too anxious to sell that Moschino bag in that damaged condition. And I get it, because I'm the one who has to turn away Louis Vuitton bags that are just too worn out. And I'm like, somebody will sell it, but I don't want to be the one to do it, not in my store. So to maintain your standards, you've got to turn this stuff away. And I returned and, I opened a complaint. I called customer service and sent pictures of this Moschino bag I bought. It's one of the ones that I think they pulled off the market because it had the pills on it. And so anyway, when I got it, I mean, it had some discolorations on it in the pictures, but when you opened up the flap of the bag inside, was completely scratched on the inside and had discolorations inside the whole flap, like when you open it, as well as the few problems that they mentioned on the side. And when you combine all that together, I'm like, this thing is just a mess. Like, why did they even bother to take it in? Well, I know why they bothered, is that it's Moschino. I know why they bothered. It was one of the rare ones, but the condition was so poor. They shouldn't have taken it. They shouldn't have the opportunity for someone to be disappointed, and the way you can avoid that is to not take it in. But wait, that's their job, is to take in luxury consignment all day long and keep pushing it out and growing. So all of us, whether we're big or small, are dealing with this delicate dance in what to take and what to send back, plus what to price it. And so it's all solvable. You quit taking in crappy stuff and you do a little better on the pricing. Because people are going to be disappointed one way or the other. So you might as well disappoint the person who sent it to you by sending it back, saying, you gotta train them to send you better stuff, right? And then you work some on ensuring that things are priced better. I don't know who they've got doing the pricing there, but I think it must be a bunch of men, because they don't know what this stuff is. I don't know who's pricing, but there's, again, the inconsistency, the low pricing, but the good stuff, I don't know what to say. I'm giving a podcast and I get to the point where I don't know what to say, but I'm hoping that you are following what's going on here with this delicate dance that you do between getting good stuff constantly, that ebbs and flows, and not freaking out when it ebbs and flows and taking in something you shouldn't, making people happy as the buyer and the consignor, trying to figure out price points and yet still moving it, because it's a cash flow business. And so this is the dance. This is the dance we do. But even with condition issues and pricing issues, I think that this is something that's easily learned from. It's easily tweaked. I think that it's very, very simple fix. Is that you just quit taking in stuff that's crappy, and you do better on pricing. If I had to change one thing with the Real right now, I would say you would have to allow people more say in what their things go for, and that would definitely affect their cash flow, and it would affect how quickly things sells, because their goal is for it to sell in 30 to 60 days. And so they price it so that it'll move that quickly. So everyone wins when it moves quickly. But then if it's too low price, they're disappointed. So there you go. That's the delicate dance. Solvable, but that's the reality. And so, these stores, I mean, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of items sitting up there for sale right now on The Real Real, and they have to constantly replenish that, constantly push in new and better stuff. People who follow the site a lot, like myself, you learn kind of over time if something's truly rare or not. And there's a glut. That's the bottom line, is there's no shortage of luxury in the world. There is a shortage of the good stuff, and meaning having it available at the time you want it, because it's always going to come back on there. But, I can click a button and there's, 5,000 Chanel bags for sale with one click, for sale or are already sold. And that's just one brand in one bag. And so that's a lot for one website, one brand, one bag. And between eBay and Poshmark and ThredUp and just so many other sites now to buy stuff. I think that being the leader, I think, is terrific. I think that to maintain that lead, that they're going to have to come up with something that they can do that fixes these small problems for the long term and helps people have more confidence in them. So that's sort of all I have to say about The Real Real right now. I did want to make the point that pricing is an issue, that condition is an issue, trying to satisfy the consignor is an issue. But as a customer, nothing but bargains on that site. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they're headed. It'll be interesting with other sites out there like First Dibs and, how they position themselves, because they could certainly move away from a lot of the lower end pieces that they have on the site. And I think that they're constantly tweaking the brands that they're looking for, and that what's selling is sort of like a moving target, which I think is great. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what their plan is to scale and to be the best one basically in the world, because obviously that's where they're headed. And I think they have all the fundamentals to make that happen. But the reality is they still have work to do. They still have to be mindful of that consignor. They have to be mindful of what they price things. They have to be mindful of condition. And getting those things solved, I think, will go a long way in helping them dominate in a place that they're already ruling. And that's it. This is Jennie Walker with Closet Conversations. I appreciate your time here today. If you like what you heard, please give it 5 stars. Comments are always welcome, and I look forward to speaking with you on the next Closet Conversations.